Hello and welcome to Video Game Hangover. I'm Randy Dickinson and I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Hello, I'm DJ Ross. I'm in Mountain View, California.
Hello.
Hello.
Each week on Video Game Hangover, we talk about the games that have been keeping us up at night. This week, that list includes Mable and the Wood, Olija, and DJ has everything you need to know about Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker.
Skywalker. God, you and the Star Wars references. When is it going to stop?
It's all I can talk about.
I know.
No, it's called Endwalker. Let's be clear on that.
Endwalker. Yeah.
Endwalker.
Oh, one day we'll have an episode where we don't talk about Star Wars, but no, not today.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The less said, the better.
Before I say something embarrassing and I get a lot of angry tweets.
I don't know. Nothing against Star Wars. I
still have that weird thing in my brain where I confuse Star Wars and Star Trek things sometimes.
Don't tell me.
I know. I'm sorry, DJ. So every now and then we're watching, a Star Trek movie and I'm like, where are the lightsabers?
Come on.
No, I know I'm being funny, but no, there are elements of those things that cross over in my brain.
I just have to, I take this extremly seriously. That should be no surprise here.
Yeah. Which is why I've hidden that fact for the first 10 years of our relationship.
Well, I was going to say, in general, mix it up, it's fine. But when you have one of them on, you should know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
It would be. It's a whole new way to watch one of those shows, though. If you're just watching Captain Picard doing some negotiation and just thinking, man, I wonder if it goes badly enough, is he just going to reach for his lightsaber? That would be very exciting.
It would be. Yeah.
Well, here we are talking about Star Wars again.
Yeah. You made it happen. You made it come true.
We made it happen.
How's things? How's winter in California? Are you surviving?
Yes, I seem to be so far.
Excellent.
Yeah. No snow on the ground or anything, so that's good.
I can't make that statement here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Yep. It's been a little frosty.
Seen some pictures from over on the East Coast, and I'm just like, man, I can't believe that weather exists somewhere, and people live there.
Yep. Yeah. And this is pretty mild by comparison to what we've had in the past. So yeah, it's snowy, and we're happy about it.
It has been pretty cold here recently, and I just tell myself I should be out and enjoying it because trends-wise, probably not going to be this cold again. So might as well just appreciate it.
Yeah, we're not doing a lot of coldest winters on record anymore. So yeah. See, I try to do something kind of fun and uplifting, and you just make it dark, DJ.
Well, it's been that kind of year.
It has, yeah. This is true.
I don't know. I feel optimistic about 2021, though.
Yeah,
I should be more optimistic.
Absolutely. People are getting vaccinated. It's a whole new world.
Yep, that's very exciting. I noticed that next to the daily number of infections in the US charts that I look at every once in a while, there's also the some sites will put the percentage of the population that's been vaccinated, which is oh finally there's a uplifting chart to look at, something that I'm this is actually good news, I guess.
Yeah,
numbers that I want to see going up.
A little line or a little number that goes up and you feel good about it. Yeah, I have friends. I have friends here in Pennsylvania that work in healthcare, and I have another friend who works for a church. And church people get vaccinations before retail people do, but whatever. And they've both gotten kind of their first shots in the last couple of weeks, and I'm like, hey, it's happening. It's a real thing out in the world.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Maybe someday I can go to the movies again.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll be going to the movies anytime soon.
Even not tomorrow.
The vaccine.
But...
Well, yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'm just there was that half of my life where I went to the movie theater, and then there was the second half. So
where I've got a perfectly reasonable facsimile of a movie theater right in my living room.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's what I should be going for.
Yeah. The home theater experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we were watching a home remodeling show just this past weekend, and they were commenting on how many new home buyers want the at home cinema experience. I'm like, well, yeah, because if you go to the movies, you might die. So, yeah.
Are they talking about have like the theater seating in your house? Because that always seems very extravagant to me.
Yes, yeah, no, they were not doing that. I mean, this was a very nice house that they were putting this in, but no, they were putting big overstuffed kind of lazy boy chairs and
okay, yeah, that
stuff.
Sounds good.
Yeah, but they had like room darkening shades, so you could make it nice and dark, and they had a popcorn machine and stuff like that. So yeah, they went pretty hard on that.
Popcorn machine is like you're committed at that point. That's I mean, you expect to be eating a lot of popcorn,
right? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And as somebody who worked in a movie theater in their youth, let me tell you, that popcorn smell does not come out of your clothes or hair.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, it's probably just going to smell like popcorn in your house permanently.
Yeah.
Which,
yeah,
I don't know,
you're
like,
committed
that
to
could
that.
be good.
Absolutely. I was in college when I worked at the movie theater, and I would, like, work at the movie theater during the day and, like, completely change my clothes and put on deodorant and go to class. And somebody asked me one time, do you smell popcorn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every day.
It's just in my hair and in my skin, and like, that smell just does not go away.
Just that liquid butter oozing out of your pores.
Yum. The good stuff. Yeah. So maybe that's what you need. You just need a big screen TV and room darkening blinds, and you're in.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't watch too many movies these days. I mean, that's not true, but I don't watch like new release theatrical movies, I guess. Why I want that huge experience. I think it's fine. I mean, it was fun while it lasted, but
you made your peace with it, yeah.
I watched Tenet on well, that's not true. So this was a special occasion because when Tenet came out, I started up my TV, which I haven't used in like probably close to a year at that point.
Wow.
And my old sound system. I was like, okay, Christopher Nolan, gonna make an effort here. So that was exciting, but it's just like I don't really seek out that experience that often. Like even when I was going to theaters, it's like, what movie is going to justify paying like $20 for a ticket and like squeezing myself into a crowded room full of these people who are probably annoying?
Yeah. I know, I still like that experience. I do miss that. Yeah. I mean, I'm within walking distance of an IMAX theater, and anytime they would get something good, we'd hike over. And I saw two of the Dark Knight movies over there, and glorious IMAX with just ear bleeding sound coming out of the speakers, and yeah, I kind of dig that experience. I think that's fun. I like that. I miss that a little bit.
I think I saw that in IMAX, the third one, Dark Knight Rises or whatever, and it's like IMAX. I don't know, Chris. I know you're a fan, but wasn't really seeing the added benefit. That's just me, though.
Yeah, that's fine.
Maybe if they put a Star Wars movie on there, I'd be all over it. Probably not.
Mm-hmm. They put that new Star Trek movie on there. That
is there a new Star Trek movie?
I don't know. They making somebody wasn't some nerd director Kevin Smith? Didn't Kevin Smith want to make a Star Trek movie?
No, please.
Jay and Silent Bob go to Star Trek.
I heard there was something in the works by some director who sounded kind of interesting. This is terrible because I don't know any of these names. I was just reading Wikipedia last week, talking about the next. I guess it would be part of the J.J. Abrams series, but it sounded like they were bringing in some new blood to work on it, which sounded good. But then they just everybody ended up leaving the project or something. So I thought, well, that was close. We almost had a Star Trek movie that I was interested in seeing.
I enjoyed the first two Star Trek reboot movies, but
yeah, no, we've been through this.
We have, yes, we've covered this territory. Yep. Anyway, we should segue to video games. That's what the people come here for. That's what the people pay for, DJ. We got to give them what they pay for.
Who are they paying? Are they paying you?
You don't get a check.
I'm still waiting. It was just waiting for people to send me checks.
Yeah. Tarantino, by the way. It was Tarantino who wanted to make a Star Trek movie.
Yeah, no, that's even worse. Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith and Tarantino kind of combine their forces.
Ugh.
That would be tonally very strange.
What I liked about when there was a buzz around Tarantino, he was like, "Yeah, I think I could make a Star Trek movie. I think if I made one, it would have swears in it." And I was just like, "Oh, Quentin." Nobody makes movies. Just nobody has the vision that you do for Star Trek.
The first appearance of the N-word in the Star Trek series.
Yeah, it's like,
directed by Tarantino.
That's what's been missing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, video games.
So do you want to do some Final Fantasy first? Or do you want to talk about other stuff?
Oh, you want to talk about Final Fantasy? I think this will be quick, based on other stuff. As we mentioned last week, the Final Fantasy XIV announcement showcase happened last Friday.
Woo!
Where they announced the new expansion, Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker. It's quite a title.
Mm-hmm. Is it called Endwalker because it's the final expansion?
It's not the final expansion, but they have said that it is going to kind of wrap up the story arc that has been going since, I guess since like the game launched in whenever the original version came out. And I've only been playing it since like 2013. But there's been kind of this continuous storyline where the like shady villains in the background and all these other recurring characters. They said they're going to be wrapping it up, which is exciting, and then afterward they'll just move on to a brand new storyline, which is also good because I'm like, oh, they're not shutting the game down. That's good.
They're doing a new Final Fantasy storyline directed by J.J. Abrams.
No, that would be something. What does that even mean? Starring who?
Chris Pine.
Chris Pine.
As Cloud Strife.
I could... Whoa. I need some time to just process what that would look like. Yeah, maybe.
Probably not.
I might be on board. Well, let me see what he looks like with the hair.
Sure. He's good. I don't know what his range is, but that's, sure.
The thing is, like, normally I think of Chris Pine, and I think he's just, like, is too good looking. He, like, to the point where he almost looks artificial. But maybe he could play Cloud Strife. Maybe he's the perfect casting for that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Either way, he's not announced to be in Endwalker at this point.
Okay, good. Sorry, I'll stop putting out fake facts about the new Final Fantasy just so we don't confuse people.
No, you should start a rumor. So, like, Chris Pine confirmed to be delivering some voice lines or something.
You know what I heard? Oh, good.
But anyway, so I was looking forward to this very much just because, I'm a huge fan. And I'm looking forward to see what the next expansion brings. But what really caught me off guard is that, at this point, Final Fantasy XIV has so many just callbacks to previous Final Fantasy games. And they do it in a way where it's not just like blatant fan service all the time. It's kind of like, I had a really good analogy for this. So it's kind of like they do it James Bond style a little bit, where every Final Fantasy game has like a character named Sid in it. Just sort of like there's usually a character named Q in James Bond. And there's like Moneypenny and the usual cast of all those characters.
Right.
And they're not necessarily the exact same character throughout the series, but they are, doing similar things. Like Sid is usually an engineer. So you have all these weird recurring characters and monsters and like villains and concepts throughout the series. So it's super fun when they pull one of these references from a previous Final Fantasy game and put it into 14 somewhere. And throughout 14's lifespan, I've noticed that they've been conspicuously light on callbacks to my favorite Final Fantasy game, Final Fantasy IV. And I'm just like, what's the deal? Is it just too old? Because it came out, it was like the first of the Super Nintendo Final Fantasies. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty old at this point. I feel like the bulk of fans probably got in around 7 or past that point. So I just thought, well, probably those references are going to be lost on people. But it seems like, just based on what we know about Endwalker so far, is that they were saving all the Final Fantasy IV stuff for this expansion.
Oh,
so
exciting.
As soon as I realized that, I was just like, oh my god, this is it. This is what I've been waiting for.
It's going to cram them all in there.
Yeah. So the big thing is they said that the key... Well, not the key thing, but like one of the big details about the expansion is we're going to the moon, which is a big thing in Final Fantasy IV. I guess it kind of makes sense in the 14 storyline, but as soon as that turned out to be a thing, everybody started mining like the trailers and all the details that they had shared up to that point to just find all the other Final Fantasy IV references. And there are a bunch. There are a lot. I'm super excited about it.
Wow.
So I totally wasn't expecting that angle to it, but just like, oh man, I feel like probably, longtime Final Fantasy fans. I know the dev team has a lot of those on there. Probably also huge fans of 4. So I feel like in a way they're maybe saving it so they could deliver them all in this, like the big conclusion to the series almost. So I feel a little vindicated. It's like, where were my references all these years? Where are all the 4 callbacks? And they were saving them until the time was right. So that's very exciting.
So is this, I think I always got the impression of the Final Fantasy games were not really kind of interconnected, that they're...
Yeah, no, they're not really.
Okay, so the MMO, this is sort of a unique feature of it in that it kind of pulls from or connects to multiple previous Final Fantasy games in a way that Final Fantasy games generally don't do.
Yeah, but even when it does, like even when it brings a character back from one of the previous ones, it's not like it's the same character. It's like 14's take on that character, if that makes sense. It's tough because I don't even feel 100% about the James Bond comparison because I feel like a lot of those times they are supposed to be the same character. But like the most common thing is they will bring back a boss who was in a previous game. And it's clearly not the same boss, but it's like, well, here's like Ifrit, for example, who is like whenever he shows up in the series, he's like a big kind of fire demon looking thing. So if you're a fan and you've played any of the previous games, you kind of have some idea what to expect. So he's going to be a big fire monster again. He's going to have a big like ultimate attack called Hellfire, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of just like, I don't know, they all have this common language of like characters and concepts to draw from.
Gotcha. But these elements for the new expansion are gonna not just sort of resurrect character names or characters' places, but it's a continuation of that story or a callback to that story?
It's mostly just a callback. It's like the same concepts that they're reusing.
Gotcha, okay.
It's more like they're thematically linked rather than just like taking pieces and directly dropping them in there.
Oh, okay. So it's not like they're not chronologically linked. This isn't a sequel to that game or anything like that. Gotcha.
Not at all.
Okay.
It's like all the Dragon Quest games. I mean, maybe that's the most appropriate comparison. Like, they've all got slimes in them. But it's not like... Well, I mean, that's not even true. In some cases, the Dragon Quest games are direct sequels to each other.
Yeah. And I always get the impression of the Dragon Quest games, there's a kind of an interconnected universe happening there that, in a big enough globe, all of those games would kind of coexist.
That's not really the case. I mean,
no?
They're like little trilogies within the Dragon Quest series where that's true, but it's not like... I mean, I haven't finished Dragon Quest XI. I hear that game does some interesting things with the like Dragon Quest history, so I don't know if that's... I probably shouldn't speculate, but maybe it turns out that they are connected to previous Dragon Quest games. I don't know.
And I've not played enough of them to have a sense of that either, but I just figured, like you said, there's slimes in all of them, and so that must mean sort of what is outside the doors or outside of the village in each of these games is shared. There's a shared, animal or I don't know, what's the right word?
Like bestiary.
Yeah, that's the right word. Good job.
But it's not like, you were on this continent, and if we went to this continent, we'd be like, we run into the Dragon Quest III cast or something like that.
Right, sure. If you're playing Dragon Quest XI, just hop on a boat and drive over to Dragon Quest II. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. That'd be really neat, but
It would be.
Yeah.
But so Final Fantasy is similar in that regard, where you have a common bestiary of slimes and assorted monsters out there.
Gotcha.
It's man, yeah, I still struggle to come up with good comparisons for this because it's kind of unique in media. But anyway, so that's very exciting. Lots of cool. Final Fantasy IV stuff. They confirmed that we are getting a new healer job, like the community suspected last week. It's not the chemist, like everybody just like pulled out of their asses, but it's this brand new job called the Sage. Which, speaking of Dragon Quest, I thought this was very interesting because Sage is like something I closely associate with Dragon Quest. That's always like the ultimate magic job in those games. And I don't think it's really been in Final Fantasy games up to this point. But it's going to be in this new thing. And then they said that there's one more job to reveal, which is going to be a melee job, which was going back to the community speculation. People were thinking like maybe it's a necromancer, which again, not really a Final Fantasy thing. I don't know where they got this. I mean, I have some theories, but
also feels like a magic job, not a melee job.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, so it's probably not necromancer, right? Now that they've announced that it's a melee job. But the director and producer Naoki Yoshida loves to get up on stage during these presentations wearing kind of like a mysterious T-shirt. In this one, he like before they did the Dark Knight reveal, he was talking about he wanted to get up on stage wearing a Batman T-shirt just to kind of hint at it. And so during Friday's presentation, he was wearing he had this really weird shirt that had it had like a bunch of like band references, but also this kind of Grim Reaper looking guy on it. And then later on, he's wearing another shirt that was also very like kind of death themed and spooky. So it's like, I don't know what that means. I still don't think like necromancer sounds like a melee job.
Yeah.
My theory now is like, or what?
A Reaper.
A Reaper, possibly. My theory is that it's going to be a scythe user. So maybe not like a necromancer, but somebody with a big scythe somehow. I don't know.
Yeah. A Reaper.
A Reaper. That sounds like how is that a job though? It sounds like they're just farming. I don't know what else you do with a scythe.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's sort of the practical application, but then Death carries scythe. What does he use it for? To take down souls, I assume, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know the technical ins and outs of it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's gotta have a function, otherwise why would you carry it around? Even if you're
just
deaf.
For looks, the intimidation factor.
It's imposing, yeah, exactly.
It was all he had lying around. I don't know what the Reaper does the rest of the time.
It could have been a baseball bat with nails in it.
It could have been, yeah. That'd be a good crossover. There's some Yakuza guys in there. Anyway, very much looking forward to just months and months of more fan speculation leading up to the next reveal, which I think is going to be in April or May. So that was cool. Very exciting.
Cool. And this comes out this year?
They said fall.
Ah.
Yeah, glad it didn't get pushed too much because of COVID and everything. I know they had some development issues. But yeah, very excited that it will be later this year.
Cool. Excellent.
It's got me thinking, like, the fact that they're talking about ending the storyline with this expansion and then starting a new thing sort of got me thinking, like, because I'm always thinking in the back of my head, like, okay, so 14 has been around for quite a while at this point. Are they going to make another MMO eventually? Like, would that be 18 or 19 or something like that? But I wonder, like, Yoshida and like the whole team seems so committed to just continuing 14 on forever that I don't know what the plans are really. In fact, it kind of makes me wonder if I even want another MMO or another Final Fantasy MMO for that matter.
Do you think they would sort of maintain both of them simultaneously, or 14
it's a good
would
question.
be sort of twilighted and this thing would replace it?
I can't imagine they would shut it down. One, just because it's so popular. And also because they still have Final Fantasy XI running, and that's been going on since like 2002.
Oh, wow.
with no signs of it shutting down. It seems weird that they would have 3 Final Fantasy MMOs. But who knows?
In the future, there's only one game, and it's Final Fantasy MMO.
Right. Well, I like the idea that it is just, sort of a game as a service that they just keep adding on to. Because one of the things that terrifies me about if they did make another one is it would kind of be a reset on everything. And this is something that I run into like whenever a new Animal Crossing game comes out, just to pick a random series out of a hat. Is I played the DS one so much. I had basically done everything in that game. So every time a new one comes out, I feel like it's starting from square one a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And as fun as it is to just relive that whole experience, like do the progression thing over again, a little part of me just thinks, well, when am I going to get back up to sort of status quo from Animal Crossing Wild World? Like when am I going to have the perfect town? When am I going to have everything meticulously landscaped? And, I've got all my outfits and furniture how they used to be. So there's always just kind of that nagging feeling in the back of my head playing those games. And I wonder if the same thing wouldn't happen in a new MMO.
Just having to start from scratch again.
Yeah. I feel like I would just miss all just the stuff that I have accumulated in 14 up to this point.
I need my stuff.
So yeah, just a weird lingering fear that I have.
That's fair. I get that. Absolutely. That was the kind of the progression loop or the feedback loop on Grand Theft Auto games for so long, is that every single time you sort of started a new one, you sort of started as the pizza delivery boy or like a low level criminal scrub. You had to work your way up to being kind of the mafioso mastermind.
Yeah.
And just like every time there was a new Grand Theft Auto, that was sort of the life cycle of your character. And at some point you don't want to start over delivering pizzas again. You gotta, can I start the game as the crime boss, please?
Yeah. Where's my bank account and my garage full of cars from the last
right.
game? Oh man, okay, so this is the last thing and then we can move on. I clipped this part out of the announcement specifically for you though, because one of the new features they're talking about in this is called Island Sanctuary. And so every time they roll out one of these expansions, there's sort of like this weird side content that is kind of like a brand new concept that they're introducing to the game. Like last expansion, we had this thing where we were rebuilding one of the cities that had gotten destroyed previously, which has been very fun. But so this one, for Endwalker, the big new concept is this island sanctuary thing. And so this translation comes from, I should give a shout out to the Reddit Final Fantasy XIV Discord. But they say, regarding Island Sanctuary, the concept behind this content is to provide players with a more slow life / relaxing feel. So they are making sure any elements of competing with other players is avoided. You will retain some form of communications with other players, but the content itself is largely solo. Trading within Island Sanctuary and earning gil with money can be done by planting and growing specialties. I don't know what that reference is, that you've cultivated, as well as interacting with other features in the game. So even if you're interested in trading but only want to just grow crops, for instance, you can do so without facing competition from other players. And you also just says you are free to admire minions, which are your pets in the game, that you bring into the island sanctuary with you. So immediately this got everybody saying like, oh, this is just, they're adding an Animal Crossing or a Harvest Moon subgame to Final Fantasy XIV.
That's what it sounds like. Final Fantasy New Horizons.
Yeah. So that's about as much as we know about this Island Sanctuary thing. But I'm always very excited because whenever they add a big feature like this, they like to refer to Final Fantasy XIV as like a theme park where, there are all these different attractions you can do, whether it's like doing a dungeon or fighting a raid boss or decorating your house. Like, maybe every time you go to the amusement park, you don't go on all the rides, or maybe there's just one ride you want to go on. And this island sanctuary thing sounds like it's just going to be a completely different area of the game for people to just hang out in and experience, which I'm looking forward to learning more about it, because it's very exciting when they add just weird offbeat stuff like this.
They're making a wholesome game. They're making a cozy game. Those are very hot right now.
Yeah.
That's kind of an interesting detour.
Yeah, I hope it's. I mean, I have very high hopes for it, obviously, but I guess looking forward to more information on that.
Yeah,
as we get closer to the launch.
Cool. All right, exciting. Well, cool. That's more Final Fantasy coming your way, as if you didn't have enough already.
Yeah. Ooh. It's like I'm trying to get through the rest of 7 remake. And then maybe later this year I'll finally play 15. So it's just going to be a very Final Fantasy heavy year. Totally different from all other years on record.
Right, exactly. For a change.
Yeah. Anyway, what have you been up to? How many Final Fantasy games did you play this week?
I've played none. I've played. I'm still working on lots of Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Nice.
Still checking in with Animal Crossing every single day. Slay the Spire came out for Android, which you tipped me off to. So I've been playing a little Slay the Spire again on my phone.
Well, I'm surprised you played any other games on top of that.
I mean, I've played a lot of Slay the Spire in my day, so it's not like this is, new. It's just a new way to play it, or a new place to play it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's also on your phone, so you can play it at the same time as Animal Crossing. Or
right. Exactly.
I don't know how you like to do things.
Just have them all running at the same time.
Yeah.
So, not a ton to say about Slay the Spire, except that cool, you can play it on an Android phone now. There's not... I guess the exciting thing about it is they resisted the urge to turn it into, like, microtransactions from hell.
And I played the iOS version a little bit, and it's basically the same as, like, the console and PC version, right? Yeah,
it's $10, and you get the whole shebang. So, you don't have to buy cards. There's no gotcha mechanism. There's no casino. You pay $10, you get the whole damn thing. So I think that's cool. That's not a bad price. I mean, I think, geez, I probably paid $30 or $20 at least for it on the Switch. So
that's a lot of game for $10.
It's a crazy amount with tons and tons of replayability. So would recommend. And then the other thing that I've been playing is this little release that I trying to sort of chart how these things kind of pop up on my radar sometimes is tough, because, man, sifting through all of the video games in the Nintendo eShop or the PlayStation Store or Xbox Arcade is really, really tough, and just sort of panning for gold is pretty random there too. So this game Olija kind of popped up on my radar. It's spelled in a unique way, Olija. But in the game they say the word Olija, so that must be how it's said. And it's interesting. It's like a 2D kind of Metroidvania type of thing. It's done in, not even 16-bit graphics. It feels a little 8-bit sometimes. It's pretty rudimentary animations, but still fairly expressive. But it's action kind of adventure game. You have you're a castaway. You're a ship's captain who gets marooned on this mysterious island. Your crew has been sort of scattered to the winds, and you're trying to sort of gather them up. You're trying to pull them back together so that you can get the hell off this mysterious cluster of islands. And along the way, you get kind of involved with this mysterious Princess Olija. And you also get the ability to use a kind of an enchanted harpoon with a rope attached to the end of it, so you can throw the harpoon at anything, any living thing, any enemy, any tree, plant, whatever, monster, and it will stick to them and do damage, and then you can push a button and you will zip to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
with your
when you say you're given a ... I was going to say, please say grappling hook.
It kind of is a grappling hook. Yep.
Like an enchanted harpoon. I don't know about that, but it sounds like, it's just a big grappling hook.
It's just a giant grappling hook, yeah.
Excellent.
You use this to do a number of things. You use it to fight bad guys and fight monsters and fight bosses. You also use it to get around. There will be, cool secret hidden things up on high pieces of the environment that you're trying to figure out how to get to, and using your harpoon as a means of locomotion is the only way to get up there. So you have to figure out, how do I, throw it and stick it to this little monster and zip up to it, and then I can get across and blah, blah, blah. So there's little puzzles and locomotion challenges you have to figure out using the harpoon to get around these levels. And it's cool. It's I played the whole thing. It's a relatively bite-sized adventure. I would say 3.5 hours. Boss battles are a little frustrating sometimes, primarily because they throw a lot at you, and they're pretty tough. But the rest of the time is really just you just brutalizing all of the other bad guys in the game. You're pretty powerful. You get a couple of other secondary weapons. You have a crossbow. You have a sword and a couple of other little fun things that you can switch back and forth between. But man, the harpoon is the fun part of this thing. The harpoon is you just zipping around these levels and, and zipping through bad guys. And, there's little flying enemies, and you'll throw the harpoon at them and zip to them in the air and slash them with your sword. And all of this is kind of conveyed in this surprisingly kind of detailed and expressive kind of 8-bit graphics.
Yeah. So you use like the harpoon simultaneously with all these other weapons?
Yeah. It's sort of a right hand, left hand kind of thing.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah. It's cool. It's there's a lot of sort of storytelling that goes into it. There's like I said, this sort of the mysterious princess and how you ended up kind of in this. It feels like a Bermuda Triangle kind of thing where you're in this cluster of mysterious islands, and you find a lot of shipwrecks around, and you find a lot of other sailors who have kind of blown off course. You build a little commune, essentially, of anytime you sort of meet somebody or find a member of your crew out in the world, you send them back to your kind of home base. And there's a bit of a base building element, too, where you eventually you lure shopkeepers to the area, and they'll set up shop, and they'll sell you hats, and the hats that you buy give you new abilities when you go out into the world. So if you'll pay a couple hundred gold pieces to get this cool hat that does double damage on all flying enemies, or allows you to steal a bit of health from anybody that you kill with your bow and arrow. So little fun little sliders, little modifiers essentially that are all done by you sort of creatively choosing a hat before you go on a mission.
That's fun. A custom hat system.
It's kind of neat. And there's a couple of other little vendors and stuff like that pop up. There's explorers that will take jobs from you, and you'll send them out in the world, and they'll come back with gold and stuff like that. And you're kind of building a home base and trying to get together all of these people who have been kind of blown into this mysterious group of islands.
Sounds like a lot to do in just 3 hours.
It is a lot, yeah. There's a ton of stuff in this. It's all pretty sort of efficient. It goes by pretty quickly. The levels are relatively linear. Like I said, there is a bit of a kind of a stacked Metroidvania kind of structure to it. But for the most part, you never really find yourself kind of walking in circles figuring out where do I go next. So there is some efficiency built into that. So it's pretty satisfying. You don't end up scratching your head a lot trying to figure out, what's the next thing? What am I supposed to be doing here? Yeah. Your objective is always pretty clear, and there's a cadence to the puzzles as well, where I need a key to get to the next thing, so I finish this level and I get the key, and that unlocks the next thing, and at the end of the next thing I get the map that unlocks that leads me to the next thing. So there's a very sort of pretty static cadence to the way that it kind of rolls out objectives to you.
Okay, so it sounds pretty guided.
Yeah. But I like it. And again, it's one of those things that it doesn't, look like a game I would play a lot. I've tried to play some of these kind of modern retro looking kind of games before. And have never really, I don't know, they always feel a little stiff, or they always feel a little vague. And I've never really sort of clicked with one of them before. I think the farthest I've gotten with anything like this is maybe Shovel Knight. I played a lot of Shovel Knight, but that game gets really, really hard eventually. And Olija, I felt like it was challenging, but it never really felt sort of punishing. So it's a kind of a unique, a game of exploration, a game of combat, a little bit of world building and character building, but it never really brutalizes you too aggressively for checking it out. So yeah, I've had a really good time with it. I would recommend. I know it's on Steam. I'm playing it on the Switch. I don't know if it's anywhere else at this point. I've not done the research on that. But yeah, it's kind of a random thing that sort of popped up and somehow ended up on my radar, and I gave it a whirl. It's a relatively recent release, and want to talk about it on the show and recommend people check it out.
Cool. You just found that by browsing through the eShop?
I'm not sure how it popped up. Maybe. I mean, it has, like I said, it has a fairly striking pixel art style to it. And there's a lot of kind of fluidity and motion to it, where if you look at sort of a static screen of just pixel things, of background and characters and stuff like that, everything is sort of moving, everything is sort of breathing or blowing in the breeze and stuff like that. So it's not just it doesn't look like an old Atari game. It looks like an Atari game in graphics, but there is a motion and a fluidity to it that feels modern. Mm-hmm. And particularly when you're playing a game that sort of hinges this heavily on action, on being able to kind of get around, and being able to move quickly, and throwing that, having all these weapons at your disposal and throwing that harpoon at a bad guy and zipping across and then slashing him with a sword and dropping down and sticking somebody else with the harpoon and then shooting him with a crossbow and stuff like that. So all of that has to happen pretty quickly with fairly antiquated graphics. So you've got to animate it in such a way that it feels fast and feels fluid and never feels kind of like stodgy or wooden. Mm-hmm. And I think there's an interesting, philosophy of play happening here that, that I don't know, I just really responded to. I thought it was a good time.
Yeah, looking at screenshots of it, looks pretty cool. Like you said, it's very kind of minimalist graphics, kind of chunky pixels.
Yeah. But still pretty expressive.
Yeah. Oh, cool. I'll have to add that to my list.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm amazed that anybody's able to find anything on the eShop, because it is just the worst. I don't even know, like, I don't look at it that often at this point just because my experiences with it have been so bad, but it's still just one big list of games. I feel like the Wii U shop, whatever that looked like, was a better user experience.
I don't know if I remember the Wii U one much.
I remember there just being like, there were a lot of different banners and like categories that you could sort through, rather than, like, I think when you load up the shop on the Switch, it's like new releases and search. Like maybe a couple other like very broad filters that you can use, but it's not great.
The eShop has, on the Switch anyways, has top games, so it sort of ranks whatever the best sellers are, which is not the best way to consume games, obviously, but it gives you a sense of what other people are playing. And there's games that are on sale. It has a deals page, so I usually start there to see like what kind of price drop recently and does it look good. Always on the lookout for a deal. But yeah, this is one of those things where I kind of got into the game and was playing it for a bit, and then I was thinking, how did I find this game? How did this pop up on my radar? Whatever sort of the secret voodoo is that makes me notice a video game and gets me to play it when I'm sifting it out of this sort of weird collection of thousands of other video games that look just like it. I don't know. I can't seem to sort of divine how this one got me to part with $15.
Yeah, and it's not even like, I don't think the Switch even has like discovery features like you would have on Steam or something. I mean, kind of as dubious as those are, they kind of end up with recommendations in the same ballpark most of the time. But it's not like.
I'm sorry, I don't use Steam a ton. But is it like if you like this game, you'll like these 3 other games?
Yeah,
kind of thing?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, sometimes it's a little unreliable, but I don't think there's anything equivalent on the Switch. Can be good, because there are certainly no shortage of new Switch games coming out. it's kind of hard to pin down some of these indie titles.
Yeah. One of the things that has been useful for me discovering games like this in the past is I've signed up for the Deku deals. It's DEKU deals, I think .com. And it's every Friday they send an email with all of the new games in the eShop. And you can go through and click on them, and it'll tell you like synopsis of the game and a link to the developer's Twitter and how much it costs. And if you like it, you can kind of wish list it and put it on your little list. And if that game ever gets a price drop or goes on sale, you'll get an alert that says a game that's on your wish list is now on sale on the eShop. But I think I don't know, it's just a little easier when it's on my phone every Friday morning, and I can kind of like click through some of the new games and watch some trailers on YouTube and stuff like that and try to figure out, does this look interesting? Is this any good? So yeah, I like the Deku Deals site a lot. It's run by a single person. He puts this labor of love. He's active on Reddit as well, and posts trying to get folks to sign up for his little weekly email. But I would recommend that. I think that's helped me kind of consume eShop games a little easier.
Oh, cool. I'll check it out.
Yeah.
I also played a retro Metroidvania this week.
Oh, cool.
I played Mable in the Wood, which has been out for a little while. It was another part of that enormous bundle of games for racial justice and equality.
Oh, excellent. That is the gift that keeps on giving.
It's endless. I will probably not make it through all the games in my lifetime. There are just a lot of games in that thing. But like you said, I don't know what it was in particular about this that made it jump out to me. Maybe it was the promise of a new Metroidvania game. But I dug into this and I'm enjoying it quite a bit. It starts out, you're in this forest, the wood, as it were. Mm-hmm. And there's like a kind of a group or like a village of just people living in the forest. And it seems like times are not great, so they are trying to summon their savior or something to rescue them from whatever terrible situation has befallen them. So they do some sort of ritual, and they're expecting their hero to pop up, and to their surprise, it's this little girl, and they're just like, well, "This is the hero? What's going on?" But it turns out this little girl has powers to transform or just change shape. So at the beginning you can turn into a fairy who like can fly a little bit. And like I said, it's a Metroidvania, so you use these things to navigate these 2D environments and fight enemies and defeat bosses. And whenever you defeat a boss, you can then transform into sort of a form inspired by that boss.
Oh, neat.
Which is kind of the main hook. The other thing, which I think is hilarious, is so you're this tiny girl who's like half the height of all the other characters in the game, and you have this huge sword, which is so heavy that you like can't even swing it, and you spend a lot of the time just like slowly dragging this thing around. So you're not an especially mobile hero of these people. So to compensate for this, you end up using these transformation abilities. Like when you transform into a fairy and you kind of leave the sword planted wherever it was, and you fly a little bit, and you have a little energy meter that shows you how long you can fly until you like run out of stamina to land again. But as you're doing this, it kind of draws this tether between you and the sword on the screen. And whenever you end up landing, you just press the transform button again, and the sword zips across the tether to wherever you end up. So that's sort of how you're able to attack things with it, is you have to like navigate somewhere and like draw this tether out so it overlaps with an enemy, and then very quickly like recall the sword to you so it slashes the enemy on its way back.
Oh, interesting.
Which is very interesting. Pretty different. What I'm really enjoying about it though is like, so the fairy movement set is pretty easy to get a handle on. It's weird because at first I kind of wanted it to just be like a jump button, but it's like, no, you push the button and you actually like fly for a little bit. So you like jump and you don't come back down. But I defeated the first boss, which is like this big spider. Spoiler, sorry. But then you get the spider transform power, and it lets you shoot out like spider silk, and you basically turn into this little tiny Spider-Man. And you're like shooting the silk everywhere, and you're doing like these swings. Like you shoot up to the ceiling, and you kind of swing like, like Spider-Man or Bionic Commando or whatever.
Right.
Which is super fun. And I really enjoy it because it just feels like one of those movement mechanics where it's not. I mean, it feels like something you really have to practice and just like train yourself to be adept at. Because the first couple times I was trying to use it, I was like, well, this is very confusing and kind of unwieldy. Maybe I'll just stick to the fairy mode. But as like the more I use it, like the more familiar I get with it, the easier I am able to just like, oh, just swing through this entire area. Or there's a little spot on the ceiling where I can shoot my web and like swing over there. And like before I knew it, I was just like swinging over all these like spike traps and lava pits and whatever. And you also use the spider silk to attack when you're in spider mode. So you like shoot it out and it will hit enemies. So I was doing all these swings, and like in midair, I would retract the sword and like shoot the web out at a bunch of enemies that were in the way. It was very exciting. It was cool. Very rewarding after I finally kind of wrapped my head around the spider form. And there are a bunch of other bosses, which I haven't run into yet, and they all have their own little like transformations you can do after you defeat them. So it's very exciting.
Neat. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, I was like, I don't really know what my expectations were going into it. I was just hoping for just a simple Metroidvania experience. You navigate your way through some maps, pick up an artifact or whatever, and it gives you like a new gun. That's not exactly what happens in this. But I've been very excited. I'm very pleased, rather, by just the focus that it has on just moving the character around and being able to navigate and figure out what abilities are appropriate for each area. Because there are some places, like, whenever you first pick up a new ability, of course there's going to be, like, the next couple screens, a bunch of sections where you have to use that one just because it's trying to give you a handle on it. But, as soon as you get out of that area, it opens up a little bit, and you think, well, I feel like I should probably be using that ability that I just picked up, but in some cases it helps to, switch it up a little bit and go back to the other stuff in your tool set.
So you keep the previous transformations. You don't.
Oh yeah.
When you get a new one, you don't sort of lose the old one forever.
Yeah, you end up with kind of like the weapon wheel or whatever in Grand Theft Auto, or pick your game of choice.
In every game,
with
yeah, exactly.
Wheel. Yeah, except there are all these transformations. So you can only really use one at a time, but it's pretty easy to swap between them. So you could even zip up into the air with the fairy mode and transform into another form and crash through a wall or something like that. As long as you don't run out of your little energy meter. That's the only limiting factor. So I'm having a lot of fun with it. It feels very similar to, as you were describing, Olija, where it's like, it can be a little challenging at points. Like, a lot of the bosses have taken me a couple tries to get through, because you kind of have to figure out like how they move and what the best way to attack them is, because like your attack mechanics are very strange and not really straightforward like they would be in another game. It's
about patterns, right? You're learning that pattern.
It's mostly patterns and like figuring out the best way to like evade them as they come at you. But it's been very satisfying. I think the platforming has been very good, especially when I'm doing like the Spider-Man swinging around. It's super fun.
Cool. This is on you're playing on PC, obviously, if it's in the Racial Justice bundle, but I just did a Google and it's on the Switch as well. So.
Oh, is it really? That's surprising. I knew it was on, so I'm playing it on itch and it's on Steam. But that's very cool. It's on the Switch.
Cool. Yeah, the description says a Metroidvania where you take the form of the bosses that you kill, changing how you're able to explore the world. It says it's also a Metroidvania where you don't have to kill anyone.
I saw that when I read when I was downloading it. And I thought, well, that's interesting. Because I've been killing a lot
You're
of
killing
monsters.
Everybody. It sounds like it.
It's like, oh, was I not supposed to do that? And I thought, oh, do they just mean you don't have to kill people? Because I haven't killed any people so far. but they're like all these terrifying forest monsters. But I think, I read a little bit about it. I don't want to spoil myself or anything. And it sounds like it is possible to just go through and either find alternate routes or you can just avoid monsters altogether and just have a totally pacifist playthrough. I think you get a special ending or something. Probably have disqualified myself from getting that at this point. But I think that's interesting. That's a little an extra replay incentive if you want to do that.
An interesting challenge, but it sounds like you lose the fun of the transformations.
I guess you'd still transform, and maybe it turns into a little more of a puzzle game at that point, just figuring out how to get around all the enemies. Because, at some points, there are a lot of enemies in the way. I really I don't know if that extends to the bosses. Like, you don't have to kill the bosses, then how do you steal their special ability and get through the rest of the game? I don't know.
Right.
But anyway, I'm having a lot of fun with it in my very bloodthirsty, kill everyone in my path playthrough, apparently.
Cool. Well, I'm putting this on my wish list on Deku Deals right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a little... So I can't tell at certain points. I feel like the maybe the physics are a little wonky. Like, sometimes I'll try and pull myself over a ledge and the character will, like, get stuck in a weird way, and I can't tell if it's because I just, like, am swinging at the wrong angle or if I'm actually just caught on a platform. So occasionally there'll be a little moment where I'm like, oh, don't do that. But for the most part, it's been very good, and it's not really a lot of frustration in there.
Excellent.
And it's quick, supposedly. I've only played through like the first act and a little bit of the second act, but I think it's just sort of like Olija, just a little 2 or 3 hour thing.
Cool. I like that as well.
That's really good.
Try to balance that with all these 100-hour or endless games in my life. So I need some bite-sized experiences.
Yeah. Man, I was just going through, like, I had to go back into the bundle page on itch to like download and install this thing, and while I was there I was just looking through all the other games on here. They're like, I forget, there's like 700 or maybe 1,000 games in there, and just scrolling through this list, it's kind of like browsing the eShop where I'm just like, man, there's so many games in here that look very interesting, and it's so difficult to to figure out or to just make an evaluation of them based on like the cover art and the little 1 or 2 sentence synopsis that the developer has put in. But I was just looking through this and thinking, like, I could just stop buying games at this point. There's so much in here that looks very promising.
Yeah, it's tough, man, sifting through all that stuff. I actually, it occurs to me that I know of another resource that I can recommend to you, DJ, and to our listeners as well, that I check out every now and then. Let me put one more piece of homework on your list. There's a YouTube channel called Get Indie Gaming, and every week they do like our top 10 most anticipated indie games this week. So they don't cover
10 games a week is too much. I can't deal with it.
It's like a 4-minute long video. So they say the name of the game, who developed it, why it's interesting to them, and you get, a minute or so of footage from the video game.
Okay.
And it's something. It's certainly not a lot. It's not a review. It's barely a preview, but it's more than a static screenshot in the eShop. It's something to kind of help formulate, like, oh, that looks interesting. Oh, that sounds like fun. And I scribble them down furiously and then add them to my wish list. But yeah, I dig it. They're real consistent about it, and they're British, so he has a lovely British speaking accent.
Excellent.
And they're not platform specific. So sometimes they recommend Switch games, but a lot of times it's a number of other platforms that these things come out on, and they don't cover the Mario games or Uncharted sequels or anything like that. That you know what those are. You don't need
that's a good angle, actually.
Yeah.
I like that.
So it's all indie gaming. It's all stuff that might be below your radar, and they're super consistent with getting those videos out every week. So yeah, I added them to my little subscription list, and when I do my once or twice a week crawl through YouTube to see if there's anything fun or interesting, inevitably their video pops up, and it helps me consume some indie games.
Nice. To that end, I was like, when I was playing more of these games regularly, I was maintaining that list on itch of stuff that I have played and recommended from this bundle
Yeah.
So I will definitely add Mable in the Wood into that, and I'll put the link to that list up on VGHangover.com on the show post if you're interested in checking it out. Because, man, I just, while this thing was downloading, which did not even take that long because it's a very tiny little game, I probably added like 4 or 5 other games to my sort of on deck list of stuff that I want to get to, so including several more little 2 or 3 hour Metroidvanias. So, probably talking about more of those soon.
Cool. All right. Well, that's a good reference too. I'll make sure I add the couple of resources that I suggested there to our show notes as well. So if you're driving or on a treadmill right now while you're listening to this, don't cause an accident. Don't fall off the treadmill.
Right.
When you get a chance, check the show notes.
It's like, indie games. I have to check that out right now.
Yeah. Or like we like to say, head to VGHangover.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only website you need, really.
All right, well, we're going to wrap this thing up. Should you find you need more video game hangover in your brain, always follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/VGHangover. And, show notes, links, etc., etc. And, an opportunity to give us a little feedback about the show at VGHangover.com. We would love for you to join us on Discord. We're always talking about sort of video games and what are you playing and sharing trailers and, video game reviews and pickup photos and all kinds of stuff about video games.
All that stuff. All that and
all
more.
those things. Yep. On our Discord as well. So you get a link to that too at VGHangover.com. And last but not least, please subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, anywhere else you can get a podcast. And, tell your friends about the show.
Yeah. Also, tell your friends that we're on YouTube.
Yay!
It's still relatively new, so I'm going to give it a shout out again. But check out our newly revised YouTube channel, youtube.com/VGHangover. Get to the latest episode every Friday and dig into that back catalog a little bit. Also, please give us a like and subscribe while you're there. It would really help us out. Want to give thanks again to Felly Kitty for our intro and outro music this week. Please head on over to fellykitty.bandcamp.com. You can get the link at VGHangover.com. Again, check out more of our stuff. I have to say, I'm a huge fan of our latest album. I'm probably mispronouncing this. Taisho Goto, I believe. Very good, kind of not quite ambient, but very different than kind of the intro and outro music that you hear. But still very highly recommended. So please head on over to Bandcamp and take a listen.
Cool. Oh man, we just missed Bandcamp Friday.
Is every Friday Bandcamp Friday, or is that just a once in a while thing?
I think it's a once a month thing.
Okay. Once a month. Well, next Bandcamp Friday, we'll make sure to shout that out again. Yeah,
absolutely. There's a website that I have bookmarked. Like, is it bandcampfriday.com? Because I can't seem to keep up with it, and I think that you can go to that, and it'll tell you when the next one is.
Let's just make it every Friday. It would be much easier for everybody.
It would be a little easier to remember, yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna wrap this thing up. I don't know. I already did that part. My name is Randy Dickinson.
Let's run through it again.
Yeah.
This is DJ Ross. That's who I am.
What was my name again? Thanks for listening to Video Game Hangover. Have a good week. Goodbye.
Good night.
See ya.